Hi, everyone. My name is Jacob Goffin, and I'm really excited to share with all of you today the work that I've done as part of my research fellowship at Accountability Council, which was made possible by the partnership with the 11th Hour Project. So a quick overview of who Accountability Council is. They're a human rights nonprofit, and specifically they work with communities around the world who have been negatively impacted by internationally financed development projects. The picture that you see here below are some of the team members from Accountability Council, as well as one of the communities that they've worked with. And a quick shout out on the far right-hand side is Samer Arabi, who is the research director at Accountability Council and led the projects I worked on during my fellowship. So I thought I would start today's presentation by giving you the short version of the story of the people involved in this picture. And I think by telling that story, it will help you understand, one, the work that Accountability Council does, and two, the importance of their work. So some of the people that you see in this picture here are part of a larger community of farmers in Haiti. And unfortunately, their story starts back in 2011 when they and more than 1,000 of their fellow farmers, pretty much without warning, have their land taken from them to make way for the construction of an industrial park in the northeastern part of Haiti. This is a project that's financed by the Inter-American Development Bank, and it has the support of the Haitian government. What's even more outrageous about this story is that not only does this community have their land taken from them, the compensation that they're giving, which is a very small amount of cash, pales in comparison to the value of their land. And so years go by before this community is even able to file a complaint with the bank. And it's only when they file this complaint in partnership with Accountability Council that they're able to put enough pressure on the bank that the bank agrees to more just compensation in the form of new land, job opportunities at the park, and new agricultural equipment. And so the reason I start by telling this story is I think it really highlights the challenge that communities like this one in Haiti face when impacted by these development projects. Put yourself in their shoes for a second. Not only did you have to go up against your own government, you also had to fight against this really powerful institution, the Inter-American Development Bank. And so any help that Accountability Council and similar nonprofits can do to help communities like this one in Haiti during the complaint process and give them a voice during that process is extremely important. Unfortunately, the story in Haiti isn't an isolated incident. Every year, whether it's the construction of a dam, a mine, or some other development project, millions of people are still negatively impacted, and communities around the world are negatively impacted by these development projects. And so there's still a lot of work for Accountability Council and others to do to continue to give a voice to these communities. And so specifically, the team that I was a part of at Accountability Council is the research arm. And the tasks that they've set for themselves, the tasks that they've taken in order to continue to reduce harm and address the harm that still occurs, is to take a data-driven approach. And specifically, what they're doing is trying to aggregate information on all of these complaints that are occurring around the world. And by aggregating this information, aggregating this data, they're able to, one, better understand the scale of the harm that's occurring in the system, and two, themselves and others are able to learn lessons across the whole system. And so something that had never been built before that they decided to build is a centralized database of all of these complaints and the associated projects that have occurred. And this database powers the Accountability Council, which is an online platform where anybody can access open data on these human rights complaints. So to give you a quick overview of the data that we're talking about, it's more than 1,000 complaints that we've collected across 129 countries from the past 25 years worth of data. And this data can be used in a lot of different ways. It can be used by researchers who want to understand trends in these complaints. Are there particular kinds of development projects that are more likely to cause harm, for example? It could also be used by other nonprofits who are maybe researching specific kinds of cases in order to understand how they can best help a particular community that they're working with. And so really the focus of my fellowship was to improve the quality of the data that we were collecting and to build tools on top of that data. And so the focus of my first project was really all about collecting more data. And specifically, I was focused on pulling documents tied to each complaint. And this is really important because for someone who's researching a specific complaint, it's important to know what documents have been produced at each stage of the complaint process. Unfortunately, all of these documents, all of this data doesn't exist in one place. It's not in one folder where we can easily grab it all at once. And so what might you have done in the past? Well, you might have given this as a manual project to that one intern that you really don't like. But fortunately for us, now we have much better tools available to automate this process. And specifically what we can do is we can write what's called web scraping code. And what web scraping code allows us to do is to automate the process of visiting all of these different institution websites where these documents live, and automate the process of looking for those documents and collecting them into one place. One technical challenge associated with web scraping code in general is that as websites change, and websites change all the time, the code that you write is sometimes prone to breaking. And so a big important part of this process is writing resilient code. And that, along with some of the other challenges, is probably part of the reason why no other organization had gone through the trouble or the effort of collecting all of this data before. But once you have written this web scraping code and you've collected it into one place, there's a lot of really important and valuable tools that you can build on top of this data. And so the focus of my second project was to actually build search functionality into our online platform to let all of our users quickly search the text of the more than 4,000 documents that we had collected as part of this web scraping code process. So for example, imagine that you're a researcher who wants to find evidence of complaints that involve child labor. In the past, this might have been a very manual process for you. You would have had to find the documents yourself, and then you would have had to search the passages of text to find the specific places that reference child labor. And now with this tool, we can do all of that for you. So you can quickly get relevant search results that are going to help you with your research and help you with your analysis. And I think that quick use case really highlights why I'm particularly proud of this project. And I think it speaks more broadly to the whole purpose and the mission of the research team at Accountability Council. And that's to build meaningful tools on top of this human rights complaint data in order to help others better understand the landscape of these complaints. And then the hope is whether it's Accountability Council, researchers, or others, they can use that complaint data to better combat harm that still occurs in the system. And so I just want to quickly wrap up by talking a little bit about the tech stack that we used. And I think what you're seeing here is another reason why I really enjoyed working on these projects. I really got to touch a lot of different technologies and a lot of different parts of the data science pipeline. So we already talked about the process of acquiring data where we wrote code in Python. And then we actually had to do a lot of work to standardize that data that we were collecting, as well as parse the PDF text that we were collecting from those documents. We also had to store those documents somewhere, so we had to upload those to S3. And then with the data that we had collected with the parsed PDF text, we actually had to build a search index that would return the results when someone enters a search query. And so that we built in Elasticsearch. And that search index that we built then went behind the scenes to power our Django web application, which the whole Accountability Council platform is built on top of. So I also got to do some front-end development work, which was really cool. And so I think really this whole project was great because I got to touch all of these different pieces. And it was also great because I think it truly was an interdisciplinary opportunity. And I think it's really important for data science students in general to see all the ways in which they can use their technical skills to do something meaningful. And I really think I did find that at Accountability Council. So with that, I just want to give a big thanks to Samer and the whole team at Accountability Council. A thanks to University of San Francisco and the 11th Hour Project for making this fellowship happen. Thank you.